Ilara had always loved stories. Every night she would sit by the small window of her bedroom on Earth, looking up at the stars and imagine the worlds beyond. Her grandmother used to tell her stories of the Starlight Guardians, heroes who had once protected the stars themselves. Most people thought it was just a bedtime tale, a way to make children sleep, but Ilara had never been able to dismiss it. There was something about the way her grandmother described the stars, almost as if they were alive, that made her feel connected. One evening, while walking home from the local library, she noticed something strange. The sky, normally dotted with thousands of stars, seemed different. A few of the familiar constellations looked dim, as if someone had faded them with a brush. She stopped in her tracks and rubbed her eyes. "It's just my imagination," she muttered. But deep inside, a small voice told her it was not imagination. At home, Ilara pulled out an old notebook she had inherited from her grandmother. The notebook was filled with sketches of stars, planets, and strange symbols she didn't understand. At the bottom of one page there was a line written in neat handwriting. "When the stars begin to burn, the story will be real." She traced her finger over the words, a chill running down her spine. She had always thought it was metaphorical. Now, staring at the sky, she began to wonder if it was a warning. The next morning, she went to the library to search for more information. The librarian, Mr. Kane, was a kind elderly man who always encouraged her curiosity. "Do you know anything about a star cluster called Lyra's Heart?" she asked him. Mr. Kane paused, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Lyra's Heart. It's a myth mostly," he said, lowering his voice. "But some say that long ago certain stars could communicate with those who listened carefully." Ilara felt a shiver of excitement. The words of her grandmother, the fading stars, and now this cryptic hint. It all seemed connected. She knew she had to find out the truth. That night she stayed awake, staring at the sky longer than she ever had before. The stars seemed to shimmer differently, as if they were trying to speak to her. The next week, strange things began to happen. Lights would flicker around her, and on 2 occasions, she thought she saw shadows moving across her bedroom ceiling, though no one was there. She tried to dismiss it, blaming stress and imagination. But every time she looked up, the sky seemed to respond. A star would glow brighter when she pointed at it and then slowly fade. It was subtle but undeniable. One evening, while sketching the stars in her notebook, she noticed a pattern emerging. Certain stars seemed to form symbols, ones that matched the sketches in her grandmother's notebook. Her heart raced. She realized these weren't random. They were messages. She quickly copied the pattern onto a fresh sheet of paper, trying to make sense of it. Suddenly, a bright streak of light shot across the sky. Unlike a normal shooting star, it moved with intention, pausing mid-air, then accelerating in a strange arc. Ilara gasped and ran outside, watching as it disappeared behind the horizon. She had a feeling it was calling her, and she knew she couldn't ignore it. Ilara's curiosity drove her to prepare for a journey. She gathered supplies, her grandmother's old journal, a few personal belongings, and a portable telescope. She had no idea where she would go, but a strong inner voice kept telling her that she must follow the signs. Her parents noticed her determination, and concern filled their eyes. "Ilara, please be careful," her mother said softly. "Stories are stories. Don't get lost chasing shadows," but Ilara smiled faintly. "It's more than a story," she said. "I can feel it. I have to try." That night she slipped out quietly, her heart pounding with both fear and excitement. She walked toward the outskirts of the city, where the lights were dim and the stars shone brightest. Hours later, she arrived at a small clearing in the hills, a place her grandmother had once described as the listening field. The wind was soft, carrying a faint hum that seemed almost musical. Ilara sat on a large rock, opened her notebook, and focused on the stars. She tried to quiet her mind, just as her grandmother had taught her. At first, nothing happened. Then slowly the stars began to shimmer in rhythm with the hum of the wind. Ilara's heart skipped a beat. It was as if the universe itself was breathing. The symbols she had sketched earlier began to glow faintly in her notebook, casting soft light over her hands. She touched the page, and a wave of warmth and energy passed through her. Her mind was flooded with visions, glimpses of distant worlds, ancient ships gliding through space, and beings made of light. Ilara gasped and stumbled backward. She felt dizzy, but the visions were irresistible. They showed her a path through the stars, a journey that she would have to take to understand the true story of the Starlight Guardians. One of the visions lingered longer than the rest, a massive, ancient observatory floating among dying stars, its walls covered in glowing symbols, much like those in her grandmother's notebook. When the vision ended, she realized she was no longer afraid. A sense of purpose filled her. This was the beginning of something far greater than herself, a journey not just across the stars, but into the heart of a story that had waited centuries for her to awaken it. The first light of dawn crept over the horizon, and Alara stood, feeling the weight of both fear and determination. She returned home, packed the supplies she would need, and made a plan. She didn't know how she would leave Earth or where the journey would take her, but she knew one thing clearly: the stars had chosen her, and she could not ignore their call. That night, she looked up at the sky one last time before her departure. The stars twinkled brighter than ever, and she whispered softly, "I'm ready." For the first time, she understood that the story she had thought was just a tale was real, and now it was her story to live. Alara closed her eyes and imagined the distant observatory, the glowing symbols and the guardians who had once protected the universe. She felt a surge of courage. Whatever awaited her among the stars, she would face it. Humanity had always been small in the vastness of space, but she believed in its courage, its curiosity, and its heart. That belief would guide her through the journey ahead. As she drifted into a light sleep, the wind in the hills carried her dreams skyward. Somewhere, among the distant constellations, the stars shimmered in recognition. A new chapter was beginning, and Alara was ready to step into it, even if it meant leaving everything she knew behind. And so, the story that began as a tale whispered by her grandmother transformed into a living reality. The stars were no longer just distant points of light. They were alive, they were calling, and Alara was ready to answer. Alara woke before dawn, her heart still pounding from the events of the night before. The stars had spoken, guiding her through visions that felt more real than anything she had ever experienced. She packed her bag carefully, the notebook filled with her grandmother's sketches, a small telescope, a few provisions, and a device her grandmother had once called a star compass, a strange metallic object that glowed faintly when she held it. Her parents were still asleep. She left a small note on her bedside table, explaining that she had to follow her destiny and that she would return when the journey was complete. She didn't know if they would understand, but she knew she could not wait for permission. The stars had chosen her. Alara made her way to the outskirts of the city, heading for a secluded landing field where she had discovered a small, abandoned spacecraft during one of her earlier explorations. The ship was old, covered in dust, and seemed barely functional. But as she approached it, the star compass in her hand began to hum softly. The glow from the device grew stronger, and she felt a strange warmth in her chest, as if the stars themselves were encouraging her. With careful hands, she opened the hatch and climbed inside. The interior was small but surprisingly advanced. Panels lit up at her touch, and symbols she had never seen before appeared on the screens. She remembered the visions from the night before and instinctively began to follow the patterns. Buttons pressed, levers shifted, and a soft hum filled the cabin. Suddenly, the ship's engines roared to life. The launch was smooth, almost gentle, as though the ship had been waiting for her touch to awaken. Earth fell away beneath her, a blue and green marble spinning in the void, and the horizon of space opened before her like a canvas of endless possibilities. Alara felt both fear and exhilaration. She was truly leaving home for the first time, venturing into the unknown. Hours passed as she navigated through the lower orbit, her hands moving carefully over the controls. She studied the constellations, noticing that one in particular, the shape of Lyra's heart, seemed to glow brighter the closer she flew. The star compass pulsed in response, directing her forward. It felt alive in her hands, guiding her toward something greater. As she approached the outskirts of the solar system, a shimmering light appeared ahead. At first she thought it was a comet, but as she drew closer she realized it was not a natural object. The light pulsed rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat, and symbols floated around it similar to the ones in her grandmother's notebook. Alara's breath caught. This was no ordinary phenomenon. The ship automatically adjusted its course, pulling her toward the glowing object. As she neared, the light intensified, enveloping the ship in warmth. Through the windows she could see shapes forming, towers of crystal, floating platforms, and a vast structure that seemed both ancient and alive. It was the observatory from her visions. Her heart raced. She had found it, the place the stars had shown her. But as she prepared to dock, a sudden vibration shook the ship. Panels flickered and a warning signal blared. Alara gripped the controls, trying to steady the vessel. Something was interfering with the ship's systems. Then, out of the glowing mist, a figure appeared. It was humanoid, tall and luminous, with features that shimmered like liquid silver. Alara froze, unsure if she should speak or hide. The figure raised a hand and she felt no fear, only a gentle reassurance, as if it recognized her. A voice echoed in her mind, soft but clear. "You have come, as the story foretold. Welcome, Seeker of the Stars." Alara's voice caught in her throat. Who are you?" she whispered. "I am an echo," the figure replied. "A guardian left to watch over the observatory. You are the first of your kind to arrive. The stars have chosen you to awaken what has been dormant for centuries." The words felt heavy with meaning. Alara remembered the prophecy in her grandmother's notebook, the child of Earth who could awaken the stars' hidden energy. Could she really be that child? She swallowed hard, nodding slowly. The echo gestured toward a pathway of floating light, leading into the heart of the observatory. As Alara stepped forward, the ground beneath her seemed to respond, glowing softly where her feet touched. Symbols appeared on the walls, pulsing in rhythm with the star compass. She realized that the observatory itself was alive, a vast network of energy and knowledge waiting for someone to activate it. Inside, she discovered chambers filled with holographic images of distant galaxies, planets, and civilizations long gone. Every panel, every symbol seemed to tell a story of the universe, a history of light, life, and cosmic guardianship. Alara ran her fingers over the controls, feeling a connection she had never known before. Each symbol responded to her touch, and she realized that she could understand them instinctively, as if the knowledge had always been part of her. Hours passed in what felt like moments. Alara learned how to read the energy patterns of the stars, how to sense disturbances in distant solar systems, and how to communicate with the echoes of ancient guardians. She discovered that the stars were not mere balls of gas and light. They were sentient in a way humans had never imagined. They held knowledge, emotion, and even memory, waiting for someone with the right courage and heart to awaken them. As she explored, a warning flashed on one of the panels. "Disturbance detected in neighboring sector. Approach with caution." Alara frowned. She didn't know what it meant, but instinct told her that her actions could have consequences far beyond her understanding. She had always dreamed of adventure, but now she realized the universe was bigger and more dangerous than she had imagined. Despite the warnings, curiosity pushed her forward. She activated a star chart, which projected a three-dimensional map of the surrounding galaxy. One sector, marked in red, showed a star cluster that was dimming unnaturally. The energy readings were unstable, and she could feel the faint hum of fear and pain emanating from the stars themselves. Alara's heart ached. She had to help them, even if she didn't yet know how. She placed her hands on the main console, following the pattern shown in the chart. The star compass pulsed violently, and a beam of light shot from the observatory into the dimming cluster. Slowly, the stars responded. One by one, they flared with renewed brightness, sending waves of energy rippling across space. Alara gasped, amazed at what she had accomplished. The stars were alive, and she could awaken them. Suddenly, an alert blared again. A massive shape appeared on the edge of the system, a ship enormous and dark, unlike anything she had seen before. It was moving with intent, and its energy signature was unlike any natural phenomenon. The echo appeared beside her, its voice calm but serious. "You have awakened the stars, Seeker, but not all beings welcome this power. Prepare yourself." Alara's hands tightened on the console. Fear coursed through her, but it was mixed with determination. She had left Earth, faced the unknown, and discovered her purpose. She would not turn back now. Humanity, small as it seemed in the vastness of space, had a place in the universe, and she was determined to prove that courage, heart, and curiosity could make a difference, even among the stars. The ship on the horizon moved closer, its presence massive and intimidating. Alara felt a surge of adrenaline. She wasn't just exploring the stars anymore. She was stepping into a story that had waited centuries to be lived. The echo stood silently beside her, a silent guardian of knowledge and light. Alara took a deep breath. "Then let them come," she whispered. "I'm ready." As the alien vessel drew nearer, the observatory's lights pulsed in response, as if the very heart of the universe was preparing for what was to come. Ilara realized that this was only the beginning. The journey would be dangerous, full of unknown challenges and cosmic mysteries. But for the first time in her life, she felt the true meaning of destiny. She was no longer just a girl who loved stories. She was a seeker, a human chosen to awaken the stars and protect the light of the universe. The stars above burned brighter than ever, and in their glow, Ilara saw a reflection of her own determination. Whatever awaited her in the darkness, she knew she had the courage to face it. The story she had grown up with was real, and she was living it. Ilara watched the massive alien vessel drift closer, its dark silhouette looming against the bright glow of the awakened stars. She could feel the hum of the observatory beneath her fingers, pulsing as if it too sensed the approaching presence. The echo floated beside her, shimmering softly. "It is not here to speak," it said calmly. "This being tests courage, heart, and intent. You must show it you are worthy." Ilara swallowed hard, trying to steady her racing heart. She had traveled across the stars, awakened the hidden energy of the constellations, and now she faced an unknown intelligence far greater than herself. She knew she had no weapons, only her wits, her determination, and the guidance of the echo. Taking a deep breath, she placed her hands on the console, allowing her intuition to guide her. The alien ship responded immediately. Its surface shimmered, sending waves of light that rippled through space like water. Ilara felt a strange warmth, as if the stars themselves were protecting her. Then, in a voice that echoed directly into her mind, the vessel spoke. "Child of Earth, why do you disturb the balance?" Ilara's pulse quickened, but she stood firm. "I mean no harm," she replied, her voice steady despite her fear. "I only want to understand the stars and help them. They are alive, and they are in danger." For a moment, silence filled the void between them. Then the ship pulsed, and a doorway of light appeared, floating in the space between her observatory and the vessel. The echo turned to her. "This is your test," it said. "Step forward, and the stars will reveal the truth." Ilara hesitated. Every instinct told her to be careful, but she remembered the words of her grandmother. "Courage is not the absence of fear, but the strength to act in its presence." She nodded, gripping the star compass tightly, and floated forward into the doorway. The moment she crossed the threshold, the universe seemed to change. She was no longer in the void of space, but in a shimmering chamber of light. Stars hovered around her, spinning slowly, each radiating energy that pulsed like a heartbeat. The air, or what felt like air, was thick with possibility, and Ilara realized she could hear faint whispers. Not words exactly, but feelings. Memories and visions mingled into a language of the stars. "Welcome, Seeker," the voice from the alien vessel said again. This time it was gentler, almost like a question. "You have the courage to awaken what many have only dreamed of. But courage alone is not enough. You must understand the whispers of the stars to protect them." Ilara nodded, closing her eyes. She focused on the pulsing energy around her, letting it flow through her mind and body. Slowly the whispers formed into images. She saw stars burning brightly, then dimming and fading. She saw civilizations depending on the warmth and light of these stars, and she felt their fear when the energy became unstable. And she saw herself, not just as a girl from Earth, but as part of a greater story, connected to the universe in a way she had never imagined. The vessel spoke again. "There is a cluster far beyond your system, where the stars are dying. Their energy is stolen by a force that seeks to control the cosmos. You must go there, Seeker, and restore balance." Ilara's mind raced. How could one person, one human, possibly face such a task? But then she felt the warmth of the stars, the gentle encouragement of the echo, and the pulse of her own determination. Humanity had always been small in the universe, yet she believed in the strength of curiosity, courage, and heart. She would try. That was all she could do. "Show me the path," she said firmly. Instantly the chamber shifted. A map of the distant galaxy appeared, tracing a route to the dying star cluster. Along the way, energy markers glowed, indicating potential dangers, unstable star fields, gravitational storms, and the lingering presence of other unknown forces. The path was treacherous, but it was precise. Ilara knew she had been given a chance to act with purpose. As she prepared to leave the chamber, the whispers of the stars grew louder, almost urgent. They were not just guiding her, they were asking for her help. She could sense their hope, their fear, and their trust. A responsibility settled on her shoulders, heavier than any she had ever felt. But she embraced it. She had always believed that humans could rise to challenges greater than themselves. Now she had the chance to prove it. Back in the observatory, Alara checked the ship's systems. They were stable, powered by the energy she had awakened from the stars. She could feel the ship responding to her thoughts, almost as if it understood her intentions. Carefully, she set the coordinates for the distant star cluster and initiated the journey. As the ship moved through space, the Echo hovered beside her. "The path will not be easy," it warned. "You will encounter forces that test both mind and spirit. Remember, the stars are your allies. Listen to them and they will guide you." Alara nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and apprehension. She knew that this journey was unlike anything she had ever experienced. The universe was alive, full of mystery and danger, and yet she felt a deep sense of belonging. She was no longer just a girl who loved stories. She was part of a story that the cosmos itself had written. Hours passed as she navigated through asteroid fields and drifting debris. Each obstacle tested her skills, but the star compass pulsed constantly, guiding her safely. At one point, a sudden gravitational surge pulled the ship toward a massive, dark star. She fought the controls, heart racing, and managed to redirect the ship just in time. The experience left her breathless but more confident in her abilities. Finally, the dying star cluster came into view. The stars were dim, some flickering as if struggling to maintain their light. A faint sense of sorrow radiated from them, and Alara's heart ached. She had never seen anything so beautiful yet so fragile. She understood now why the alien vessel had sent her. These stars were counting on her. She approached the cluster carefully, following the energy markers. The ship responded to her touch, pulsing with light as she activated the systems designed to restore stellar energy. Slowly, the dim stars began to glow brighter, their energy responding to her guidance. It was subtle at first, but then a wave of light spread through the cluster, illuminating the darkness with warmth and hope. Alara gasped. She had never felt such a connection with the universe. The stars were alive and she could feel their gratitude. But her celebration was short-lived. A shadow passed over the cluster, a dark force that absorbed the energy she had just restored. The alien vessel's voice echoed in her mind. "The balance is fragile. Forces seek to control the light. You must act quickly, Seeker." Alara gritted her teeth and focused. She activated the ship's energy conduits, directing beams of star energy toward the dark force. The shadows writhed, trying to resist, but the combined strength of her will, the observatory's power, and the energy of the stars themselves began to push it back. It was exhausting, both mentally and physically. But she refused to give up. Humanity had faced impossible odds before and had overcome them. She believed in courage, determination, and heart. She believed that one person could make a difference, even against cosmic forces. After what felt like hours, the dark force weakened and finally dispersed, leaving the star cluster radiant and alive once more. The stars pulsed with energy, sending waves of light that washed over Alara's ship. She felt their warmth, their relief, and their quiet joy. The Echo appeared beside her, smiling faintly. "You have succeeded, Seeker. The stars are alive again, thanks to your courage and heart. But your journey is not over. There are more challenges ahead and more stories waiting to be awakened." Alara nodded, exhausted but exhilarated. She had faced the unknown, restored hope to dying stars, and discovered that humans, though small in the vastness of space, could shine brightly when they acted with courage and heart. She looked out at the illuminated cluster, her determination renewed. "This is only the beginning," she whispered to herself. "I will see it through. Whatever awaits, I will rise to the challenge." The stars shimmered in response, as if acknowledging her vow, and somewhere far beyond her vision the universe waited, full of mysteries, adventures, and stories yet to be told. Alara had succeeded in restoring the dying star cluster, but the universe did not allow peace for long. As her ship glided through space, the glow of the revived stars fading into the distance behind her, she could feel an uneasy energy creeping along her path. The Echo hovered beside her, its light dimmer than usual, as though it too sensed the looming challenge. "The energy here is unstable," the Echo said. "The forces you defeated before are not gone. They gather strength elsewhere. You must be ready." Alara nodded, gripping the controls tightly. She had learned to trust her instincts and the guidance of the stars. But now she realized that courage alone would not be enough. Knowledge, patience, and ingenuity were also necessary. Humanity had always faced obstacles, and each time they did, they had found a way to overcome them. She could do the same. The sensors on her ship began to pick up strange readings, A cluster of small stars nearby pulsed irregularly, their light flickering as if they were in pain. As she approached, she saw the cause: shards of dark energy floating through space like shards of broken glass, siphoning the energy from the stars. Alara's heart tightened. She had faced shadows before, but these were different, fragmented, scattered, yet moving with a purpose. They were intelligent, but not unified. It was as though the universe itself had fractured in this region, and she was the first human to notice the pieces. "Can we stop them?" she asked the Echo. "Yes," it replied softly. "But you must do more than fight. You must restore what has been shattered." Alara understood immediately. She needed a plan, not just courage. She adjusted the ship's energy conduits, preparing to redirect the light of the revived stars into the shards. Each shard absorbed energy quickly, moving away before she could reach it. She realized that attacking them individually would be impossible. She needed to unite them to make them whole again. Using the star compass, she traced a pattern through the shards, creating a network of beams that connected the fragments. Slowly, the shards responded, pulling together as if drawn by an invisible force. It was a delicate process. One wrong move and the shards could scatter or, worse, explode, damaging the nearby stars. Hours passed. Alara worked tirelessly, her hands moving over the controls, her mind focused on the flow of energy. The Echo hovered, offering guidance when needed but allowing her to find her own solutions. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the last shard clicked into place and the cluster of dark energy coalesced into a single, floating orb of light. Alara's breath caught. The orb pulsed with energy, brighter than she had expected, radiating warmth across the surrounding stars. She realized that the shards were not inherently evil. They had simply been fragmented, lost, and confused. By restoring them, she had given them purpose and balance. But her relief was short-lived. The sensors blared again. A massive gravitational wave approached from a nearby nebula, threatening to destabilize the cluster. Alara acted quickly, using the ship's energy to shield the restored stars. The Echo assisted, reinforcing her efforts, and together they managed to absorb the wave, redirecting its force harmlessly into space. Alara sank into her seat, exhausted but exhilarated. She had faced chaos, restored order, and learned that the universe was not just about light and darkness. It was about balance. Humans, small and fragile as they seemed, could make a difference when they acted with courage and intelligence. Suddenly, a faint hum resonated through the ship. It was different from the star compass, deeper, almost like a heartbeat. The Echo turned to her, its light flickering. "There is a signal," it said. "Not from the stars, but from beyond them. Something waits for you." Alara's heart raced. She had thought this journey would be about exploration, about discovering the star's secrets. But now it was clear that her role was greater than she had imagined. She was not just a seeker, she was a guardian, and the universe had more in store for her than she could yet see. The signal led her to a small, isolated planet orbiting a dying star. Its surface was barren, cracked and glowing faintly with residual energy. Alara landed carefully, her boots crunching on the rocky terrain. The star compass pulsed in response to the planet's energy, guiding her toward a central cavern. Inside, the cavern was filled with crystalline structures, shimmering with faint light. At the center, a massive crystal tower rose, fractured but intact. Alara felt a connection to it immediately. She placed her hands on the crystal, closing her eyes, and allowed the energy to flow through her. Visions filled her mind. Glimpses of ancient civilizations, guardians who had once protected the universe, and humans who had unknowingly played a part in this vast story. She realized that the crystal was a remnant of the first guardians, a repository of knowledge and energy meant to guide future protectors. But it had been damaged, leaving the balance of the surrounding stars unstable. Alara worked carefully, using the ship's energy to mend the fractures in the crystal. Light flowed through her hands, connecting with her heart, and she could feel the consciousness of the crystal responding. It was patient, wise, and immensely powerful. She realized that this was not just a task of strength or skill. It required empathy, understanding, and the willingness to act with care. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. The fractures slowly healed, glowing brightly as energy returned to the crystal. The planet itself seemed to respond, the cracked surface settling, faint vegetation stirring as if awakening from a long slumber. Alara's heart lifted. She had done it. The crystal, the planet, and the surrounding stars were restored, but she knew this was only part of a larger journey. The signal pulsed again, stronger this time, drawing her attention to the edge of the system. The echo spoke softly. "Beyond the nebula lies the source of the disturbances. You must go there, Seeker. Only then will the story be complete." Ilara nodded, determination blazing in her eyes. She had faced fear, chaos, and uncertainty, yet she had endured. Humanity had always faced impossible odds and had risen stronger each time. She could do the same. As she prepared the ship to leave, she looked back at the restored planet. It was no longer barren. Light shone from the crystal tower, casting warmth across the surface. The stars pulsed in recognition, sending waves of energy that filled her with hope. She realized that every act of courage, every choice made with heart could ripple through the universe, making a difference far greater than she had imagined. Ilara set a course for the nebula, feeling the pull of the final challenge. She did not know what awaited her there: unknown forces, strange civilizations, or dangers beyond comprehension. But she knew she had the courage, ingenuity, and heart to face them. "This is my story," she whispered, gripping the controls. "And I will see it through." The stars shimmered brighter around her ship as if acknowledging her vow. Somewhere far beyond the visible horizon, the universe waited, full of mysteries, adventures, and stories that only the brave could awaken. And Ilara was ready. Ilara's ship drifted closer to the edge of the nebula, the dense clouds of gas and light swirling like a living storm. The echo hovered beside her, its glow steady and reassuring. Beyond the colorful haze, the source of the disturbances awaited, a colossal structure, dark and jagged, suspended in the void like a wound in space. Ilara felt a shiver run through her spine, but she gripped the controls firmly. Fear was present, but it would not control her. Humanity had always faced challenges that seemed impossible, and now she understood that courage and heart could light even the darkest void. "This is it," she whispered. "The final test." The echo nodded. "The universe has been waiting for you, Seeker. Everything depends on what you do next. Listen to the stars, they will guide you." Ilara studied the structure carefully. It pulsed with dark energy, sucking light from nearby stars and twisting it into chaotic forms. She realized that this was not merely an obstacle, but the embodiment of imbalance, a force that sought to control the universe by extinguishing its natural light. Every choice she had made had prepared her for this moment. She activated the ship's energy conduits, letting the light of the restored star clusters flow through her vessel. The star compass pulsed violently, guiding her toward the structure's core. "I can do this," she whispered. "I have to." As she entered the nebula, the dark energy lashed out like tendrils, striking the ship. Alarms blared and the vessel shook violently. Ilara gritted her teeth and focused, redirecting the energy through the conduits to shield the ship. The echo's voice echoed in her mind. "The darkness will test every part of you. Do not falter. Trust the stars and yourself." Ilara closed her eyes for a moment, letting her senses reach beyond the ship. She could feel the distant stars pulsing, their energy vibrating in response to her determination. Their warmth and hope flowed into her, reinforcing her courage. Then, with a deep breath, she opened her eyes and aimed the ship's energy beams at the core of the dark structure. The darkness shrieked, a soundless scream that shook the nebula. Tendrils lashed out, but Ilara's precision and determination held. She could sense the fragments of the structure reacting to her, almost as if it were alive, struggling to maintain its hold on the surrounding stars. She realized then that brute force would not win this battle. She had to understand it, guide it, and restore balance. The star compass glowed brighter, illuminating a hidden pattern within the dark energy. Ilara traced it with her hands on the console, synchronizing the ship's beams with the rhythm of the structure. Slowly, she saw cracks forming in the darkness and light began to seep through. The structure pulsed, resisting her, but the energy of the restored stars flowed steadily, finding harmony within the chaos. Hours passed in what felt like minutes. Ilara's mind was focused entirely on the task, her heart aligned with the rhythm of the universe. The dark energy writhed, twisting and folding until at last it broke apart, scattering harmlessly across the nebula. Light returned to the surrounding stars, their energy renewed and vibrant. Ilara exhaled, a mixture of relief and awe washing over her. She had done it. She had restored balance, not by destroying, but by guiding the darkness into harmony. The universe seemed to sigh with gratitude, waves of energy pulsing through space like a gentle heartbeat. The echo floated beside her, its voice filled with warmth. You have succeeded, Seeker. The stars are awake and the balance is restored. Humanity, small as it may seem, has once again proven its courage and heart. You have reminded the universe that light can overcome darkness and that hope can guide even the smallest among us. Ilara's eyes glistened with tears. She had left Earth as a girl chasing stories, and now she stood among the stars as a guardian. She realized that the journey had changed her, not just in skill or knowledge, but in spirit. She understood that humans could rise to challenges that seemed impossible, that courage, empathy, and determination could shape the universe in ways she had only dreamed of. Suddenly, the star compass pulsed once more, projecting a final vision. Ilara saw Earth, the people she loved, and the countless stars she had helped save. She saw herself returning home, her story complete but also beginning anew. The universe had many more challenges, many more mysteries, and she knew she would not face them alone. Humanity, with its courage and heart, had allies in the stars themselves. Ilara smiled, feeling a profound connection to the cosmos. She had started her journey believing the stories of her grandmother were just tales. Now she knew they were more, guidance, warnings, and inspiration passed down through generations, waiting for someone brave enough to act. The echo spoke gently. Your journey does not end here, Seeker. There are still mysteries to uncover, worlds to explore, and stories to awaken. But for now, you have fulfilled the prophecy. You have reminded the universe that hope, courage, and heart are not limited to the mighty. They belong to all who are willing to rise. Ilara nodded, her gaze turning toward the cluster of restored stars. They shimmered brightly, radiating warmth and light that reached across the cosmos. She felt their energy flow into her, a reminder that every action, no matter how small, could ripple across the universe. For the first time, she allowed herself to rest. She floated in the quiet of space, listening to the hum of the stars and feeling the presence of the echo beside her. She thought of Earth, of the stories she had grown up with, and of the countless people who had unknowingly shaped her courage and determination. The universe was vast, full of unknowns, but she felt ready. Ilara smiled to herself. She had faced darkness, chaos, and fear, and had emerged stronger. She had discovered that even a single human could make a difference in the vast expanse of space. Humanity, though small in the grand scheme, possessed a heart capable of great courage, hope, and creation. With renewed determination, she set her course for home. The stars guided her, their light shining brighter than ever. She knew that her journey among the stars had only just begun. New adventures awaited, new challenges and new stories, and she would face them not alone, but with the knowledge that humanity's courage and heart could shape the cosmos. As she approached the edges of the nebula, Earth appeared in the distance, a blue and green jewel spinning in the darkness of space. She felt a surge of joy, knowing she would return to the place where her story began, carrying the wisdom, courage, and strength she had gained among the stars. Ilara whispered softly, "Thank you for trusting me." The stars pulsed in response, a gentle acknowledgement of her journey. She realized then that the story was never just hers. It belonged to all who dared to dream, to act with courage, and to believe that one person could change the universe. As she entered Earth's orbit, she saw the familiar landscapes below, the cities, the oceans, and the mountains. Everything looked the same, yet she knew it would never be the same for her. She had been shaped by the cosmos, touched by the energy of the stars, and reminded that humanity could rise to the greatest challenges. Landing her ship in the quiet outskirts of the city, she stepped onto solid ground, feeling the familiar pull of gravity beneath her feet. The night sky stretched above her, filled with stars that now seemed closer, alive and aware. Ilara smiled, knowing that the stories she had grown up with were no longer just tales. They were truths waiting for someone to live them. She returned home, greeted by her parents with relief and wonder. She did not try to explain everything, they might never fully understand, but she carried within her a knowledge and courage that would shape her for the rest of her life. She was no longer just a girl who loved stories. She was a seeker, a guardian, and a reminder of what humanity could achieve. Ilara looked out at the night sky one last time, feeling the pulse of the stars and the warmth of the universe. She knew that this journey, though complete in one sense, was only the beginning of many more. Humanity had a place among the stars, and she had found her path. With the heart of a human, the courage of a seeker, and the guidance of the stars, Alara whispered softly. The story continues, and somewhere, in the endless expanse of the cosmos, the stars shimmered in acknowledgement.